I have bought 163 single family rental properties without using a dime of my own money. What I want to do in this video is walk you through the 3-step process, my framework as I call it, that I have discovered along the way that has allowed me to do that. All right, we're going to get into it now. I have a lot to cover, so I would suggest grabbing a pen and paper if possible and taking notes, because you're going to get more out of this video than you get out of most paid courses. Before we hop in, I want to highlight the fact that I did not come from money. I didn't inherit a dime from my parents. I grew up in the Midwest in the lower middle class. So I did not have a huge financial leg up. Like everyone else, I started with zero, and now I own $50 million worth of real estate, all on other people's dime, all in the past 10 years. Whether you're looking to buy your first rental property or your 50th, this video is gonna help. Hit that like button, let's go. The first part of the 3-step process is finding money. Now you can use your own money, but you definitely do not have to. There are 2 types of funding sources that you're going to need to look for that will allow you to buy real estate without using any of your money. The first type of funding is short-term funding. This is what you're going to use to buy and repair the distressed property. There are a ton of different places you can go to find this, some weird ones, some normal ones, some not so normal ones, but let's just stick with the top 3 that are most likely to be at your disposal. The first one is tapping into some type of money that you may have. It could be a home equity line of credit on your house. You're pulling some of that equity and you're using it for the initial purchase and or rehab of the distressed property. And if you do have the cash, that would be another option. Now just know that you're gonna get it back later in this process. So if you end up putting $20,000, $50,000 of your hard-earned and saved money in the deal, if you do it right, you will get it back. And if you want to pay yourself extra interest, you'll get that back too. So just know it's not out of pocket long-term. You can also tap into some type of money market account. Maybe you have a life insurance policy that allows you to loan yourself some of the cash, or you can even borrow against a 401k. So the first little bucket here of the short-term funding is you using your own type of money for the short term. You're going to get it back. The second and probably more likely option for you is using a private money lender. Private money lenders are individuals that you know, usually in the middle class, usually normal W-2 corporate employees. We're talking teachers, we're talking engineers, we're talking police officers, we're talking architects, we're talking sales managers, we're talking insurance agents. By the way, those are all the occupations of my private money lenders. So these are just normal everyday people that you know that you convince to invest in real estate through you. Now there is a ton that goes into this. I have a video right here where I walk you through how to find private money lenders in your network. But if you wait until the end, I will put this video as the final card, so then you can watch that private lender video. Number 3 is hard money lenders. Hard money lenders are companies that actually lend out to real estate investors as their sole purpose. They borrow money at a low percentage, then they arbitrage it and mark it up and lend it to you. Now, hard money lenders are great. There's a ton of them. I have my own hard money lending company called FasterFreedom Capital. You can just go to FasterFreedomCapital.com to get a quote. You don't have to. Don't worry about that right now. Just know that there are a lot of local hard money lenders and a lot of national hard money lenders out there that you can borrow from. Now, a lot of the time, you're going to have to mix and match, maybe use a line of credit on your house and a hard money lender, or sometimes a private lender and a hard money lender. You can mix and match the 2. It's not a big deal, and that may be actually necessary for you to get this first deal done. The second funding source that you're going to need to do this framework is long-term funding. We just covered short-term funding. That covers the purchase and the rehab. The long-term funding source allows you to have a 25 or 30-year mortgage on the property, so your monthly payment is as low as possible, but also that loan serves the purpose of paying back your short-term funding plus interest. More on that in my real-life example. The 2 main types of long-term funding sources are going to be small local community banks, not your big national banks. Bank of America, Citibank, they will all laugh you out of the room if you try to get a loan on a rental property, or they will look at you like you have 3 heads because they have no idea what that actually is. These small local banks have a few sources of income to allow them to operate, and a huge part of that is lending money to small businesses, including real estate investors. They will lend you money over 20 or 25 years that will allow you to pay back that initial funding source. They stay in business by lending money to real estate investors. And the second long-term funding option is going to be a DSCR lender, or debt service coverage ratio lender. They are national lenders, and right now their rates are a little bit better than these small local banks. You're able to get a 30-year mortgage on them as well. So we have been using them a lot recently. Again, I partner with a capital source to start FasterFreedom Capital. We also do long-term 30-year DSCR loans as well. Okay, so we covered step one, finding short-term and long-term funding options. It's going to take you time to do those, and I have a lot more resources, but let's move on to step two. Step two is finding the deals. You can't just go on Zillow or the MLS and find a lot of distressed properties. You have to have other sources of deal flow. Off-market and shadow properties are the place that you're going to want to go to find these distressed and discounted properties. I must have something with the number 3 today, so I'm going to give you 3 places to go to find these distressed properties. Now note, you need to find these properties that are distressed so that you can buy them at a discount. You can't just go and find your neighbor's house that's listed on the MLS with an agent or listed on Zillow and make the numbers work. You need to find a property that is deeply discounted, and the only way to do that is to find properties that are distressed. So we're going to go after sources of distressed properties now. The first and easiest place to go to find distressed properties is going to the people that find the distressed properties for you. And those are called wholesalers. Wholesalers' entire existence is built around finding distressed properties. They knock on doors, they send direct mail, they do TV ads, they do radio ads, they do a ton of work to find these distressed properties. Then when they get these properties under contract on a sheet of paper, they bring it to you and they mark it up $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and allow you to do no work except analyze the deal that they brought you. And if it fits your criteria, you go ahead and buy it. Don't worry about how much money they make. You want them to make money so they can put that profit back into marketing and bring you more deals. As long as it meets your numbers and it's a good deal for you, go ahead and buy the thing and don't worry about how much money they make. You can find these wholesalers at local meetup groups. Go to meetup.com and you should be already going to your local real estate investing meetup groups on a monthly basis at a minimum. So go there. You're going to connect with everybody you need to connect with, but especially wholesalers. Go to your local real estate investing Facebook group. You can find wholesalers there as well, posting their deals. Those little 2-foot by 3-foot bandit signs you see on the side of the road that say "We buy houses," those are wholesalers. Go ahead and snap a picture of that sign, call or text that number, and boom, you have a wholesaler contact there. So find the people that are finding the deals. Wholesalers are the easiest place to go. We probably buy 50 to 60 houses a year from wholesalers. The second is real estate agents. Real estate agents are the front lines of the real estate industry. They are in and out of houses all day, every day. The real estate agents that you need to be focusing on are the ones that understand distressed properties and that work with real estate investors. A good real estate agent is going to do 10 to 20 transactions a year, sometime on the listing side, sometimes on the buying side. However, there's 1 or 2 of those a year that are a hoarder house or a tough situation where the seller's going through a foreclosure or the seller hasn't paid their taxes and they came across the deal. That's where they bring you in. They bring you in as the hero that's going to save the deal at the last minute. The seller pays their commission. You shouldn't have to pay any commission, so you get the deal without even the markup. However, as I mentioned earlier, not all real estate agents understand investors, so make sure to find investor-friendly real estate agents. You can find them at your local meetups and just general networking events. And the third place to find deeply discounted and distressed properties are using technology. I have a software called Deal Pilot where we use AI technology to help you find distressed properties. It comes with a deal finding and deal analyzing software. It also comes with weekly education and coaching, and also connections to funding sources and other business connections that you're going to need as a real estate investor. If you'd like a 7-day free trial of that software, no strings attached, all you have to do is go to the description of this video, the Deal Pilot link, and it's yours. So we covered how to find the money. Then we talked about some simple ways to find the deals. Now let's talk about the actual framework that ties those two things together that has been proven through time. I'm going to walk you through a real deal that we've done recently with my framework so that you can understand it better. And then we'll roll out of here so that you can actually go do this yourself. All right, here we go. Going to drive this home. The method we're gonna talk about, as I just mentioned, is the BUR method. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance. This is how I have bought 163 single family rentals, as well as 6 apartment complexes, as well as 3 self-storage facilities, and even 1 hotel. Now, step 1 was what? Finding the money. Private money lender, boom. Step 2 was finding the distressed property, sad distressed.
So we're taking what we already did, step 1 and step 2, and doing step 3. All right, here we go. Let's go over one of my latest rental examples. I was brought a deal from a local wholesaler that I could buy for $185,000. It was a distressed property. It didn't need a ton of work. We ran the numbers, looked at the rehab budget, and decided it needed between $30,000 and $35,000 worth of work. However, the cost of money and some fluff, we put about $40,000 into the rehab. So before we bought it, we knew we could buy it for $185,000, and we knew it needed conservatively $40,000 worth of work. So what I did was I borrowed $225,000 from a private lender that I had used in the past. Now the wholesaler that I mentioned earlier, he got this property under contract for $150,000. So he made $35,000. I'm glad he made $35,000, so he'll bring me his next deal and he'll have more money for marketing. So I borrowed money from a private lender, bought the property, wrote a check to the title company to buy it. Then over the next like 2.5, 3 months, I wrote $40,000 worth of checks, or my team did, I guess, but you will be, to contractors to actually do the rehab. And now the property is no longer sad, the property is happy, it is a fixed up property. Now I still owe the private lender $225,000 and I haven't paid him back a dime yet. The next step, as I mentioned earlier, is the rent step. Getting the property rented and making it a cash producing asset will allow you to go into the last step. Now, as I mentioned, this used to be the BUR method, then the BURRs, and now it's kind of like the BURRs 2.0 with the framework, the FasterFreedom framework, considering all the steps we're going through. One of the changes, is why I'm telling you that, is when I got started, it was you rent it out to a long-term tenant, Section 8 or market rent. Now you have the option of a short-term tenant. You can rent the property out on a short-term basis to a, Airbnb, VRBO type style listing. Of course, that's not good for every property. They're not all in a good location for short-term rentals, and not even every municipality allows for that legally. But you might be surprised at what types of properties work really, really well for short-term rentals, Airbnbs. You get way more rent, of course more management, but this is how a lot of people are cash flowing today with the higher interest rates than a few years ago by going the short-term rental route, Airbnb, VRBO. The next option is a midterm rental, and my kind of personal favorite, midterm rentals. These are renting out to traveling nurses, corporate leases, insurance claims, digital nomads, people that want to live in one spot for 30, 60, 90, 120 days. Midterm rentals are great. There's not much maintenance involved. There's not much tenant management involved. Traveling nurses stay at our midterm rentals. They come, they stay for 3-4 months, and then they leave, and we already have one lined up. There is much more need for midterm rentals than there is supply for midterm rentals. So the supply-demand curve is way off, into the tune of there's like 2.5 million people that need midterm rentals on a monthly basis, and there's like 250,000 available in the United States. So there's a huge gap, so you're able to get a lot of rent on a midterm rental basis, and you only have a tenant, 3 or 4 a year as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 a month. So I love midterm rentals. That's a great, kind of niche to get into. And then you obviously have the long-term rental route where you can do a Section 8 or a market rent. So now you got the property fixed up, rehabbed, rented. You go to this last step, which is the refinance step. This is the step that allows you to start to pay everybody back and kind of do some fancy financial footwork. So this property, in my head, I thought it was a $315,000 property, hence me not negotiating the initial purchase price. But I think it appraised for $302,000, but let's put a $300,000 appraisal. I went to a DSCR lender, or you could go to a small local bank, either one, and they're gonna send out a third-party appraiser, and this appraiser appraised the property for $300,000. So they wrote me a check for 80% of that, and 80% of $300,000 is $240,000. So they wrote me a check for $240,000 that the lender did, the long-term lender did, right? I took that $240,000 and I paid back my private lender their $225,000 plus $15K in interest. I don't think it was quite that. I think I pocketed a few grand, but let's not worry about that. So the private lender wrote me a check for $225,000 and like 3-4 months later got a check back for $240,000. Guess what? Now he is happy. The house is happy and he's happy. Now, of course, I do owe the lender $240,000, but I owe them that over 30 years. and the rent pays back the bank every single month until it's paid off, but the tenant pays me the rent and I take that and I pay back the bank. And let's talk about the power of this real quick, and then I'll send you that private lender video. So the power of this property today that I bought using none of my own money, wish I could write, but it's all good. It's worth 300 grand, actually 315, but let's be safe, and I owe 240. So I have 60K of equity in this one rental house I bought using none of my own money. That's cool, that's great. It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna pretend that it wasn't, but 15 years from now, real estate will have doubled at minimum. New type home buyer price points, more than double in value every 15 years, but overall real estate doubles in value every 15 years. So this property will be worth 600K in 15 years because real estate does what it do. Now guess what? The tenant pays down the principal and interest, but principal in the mortgage, so that will be paid down. So opposite directions in my benefit. So conservatively, let's say it's 150 grand paid by the tenant. So my 60K then turns into $450,000 of equity in one rental property I bought using none of my own money. And to put that into context, that is more than the average 401k and IRA combined at the age of retirement. That was kind of a creep way to say it, but you get it. At the age of retirement, meaning the average American that's 65 years old has like, I think 350 grand in their 401k and IRA, which I know there's other retirement strategies, but that's the main one you're told, right? Just this one rental property in much less time will be worth even more than that as far as your equity goes, and then it just compounds and expands from there. And the last step of this that I've kind of coined is the Systemize step. I'm not gonna get into right now, but this is creating systems around each of those steps so that you can do them bigger, better, faster, stronger, and create financial freedom for you. I did this with one house and then repeated it, and as I mentioned earlier, did this 163 times. If you want to learn more about this, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, check out the actual description for some links with the private lender video, some links with the deal pilot trial, and some free training links as well. And check out this video over here, which will walk you through how to find a private money lender. See you on the next one.